Hi guys, Black is here, and I want to talk about something I did when I was 19 years old. Okay, first of all, when I was 17 years old, I was kicked out of high school and I went to an automotive training school. And this school was like so much fun because all we talked about was cars. All we worked on was cars. And I got to learn a lot of stuff. I had a bunch of questions about cars. All of these, well, not all of them, but a lot of them was answered. And I really enjoyed it. I was the youngest person in this class, but I used to get at least a 95 every time we took a test. And the thing was, I didn't even study the book. I would put the book in the back of my damn bug, because I had a bug back then, and I wouldn't pick it back up until I got to school the next day. And when we take a test on Friday or whatever day it was, like I said, I think the lowest I got one time was 94, 95, something like that. Anywho, and again, I'm the youngest person in there. Okay. So one of the things we learned was why cars have thermostats. You know, I'm from the old school junkyard, black junkyard days. And whenever a car overheat, black people just take the thermostat out and throw it away. They don't replace it. Not necessarily because of money, just because they were afraid the car would run hot again and mess with the motor. Well, I learned that cars have to run a certain temperature for them to run efficiently. But even though I was told this, I still didn't really believe it, you know. So fast forward a couple years later, I had a 76 Toyota Corona station wagon with the 20R 4-cylinder engine. Okay, I had gotten a newer Toyota truck engine. It was like, not engine, radiator. I think it was like an 86 or 87 Toyota pickup truck radiator. I had borrowed this truck without permission, and I was stripping the truck. You know, I took the battery, took the radiator, took some other stuff I thought I might need one day. So one day I'm messing around with my Corona, and I decided to hold the fan. You know, it was a clutch fan. I decided to hold the clutch fan until the engine reached a certain temperature, and then I would let it go. Oh, the car used to run hot for some reason, but it only ran hot on the expressway. If you drive it, it's like the longer and longer and longer you drive, the hotter and hotter and hotter it would get. But it would slowly get hotter, not just run hot, just slowly get hot. And I never understood why. Well, I later found out because it didn't have a thermostat in it. But again, I didn't know no better, and I never put one in it because I didn't believe in putting thermostat. Well, one day I was messing around with the fan, and I actually knocked a hole in my radiator. Of course, it was leaking. So I said, well, I got the Toyota truck fan. Coolant radiator or whatever. So I'll put that in there. It didn't quite fit. I remember, I think it was a belly pan or a skid plate in front of. I had to like remove it or something because the radiator was a little too tall. But I got the radiator in. I think I put one bolt in one side. I got some clothes hanger and put on the other side, and I got some clothes hanger and put on the bottom. So basically one bolt and two clothes hangers was holding this radiator in my Corona. Well, I went to drive to work the next day, and it was kind of cool in the morning, right? So I drove the car to work, and the heat never would come on. But I didn't have time to stop and find out because I didn't want to be late for work. So by the time I get to work, there's still no heat in this car. And I'm like, damn, what's wrong with the car? So I popped the hood, opened up the radiator, and I opened up the radiator. You know how you open it the first time to release the pressure, and then you open it again, it'll come out. Well, the first time to release the pressure, I turned it and backed away from the car so I wouldn't get, splashed with hot coolant. Didn't hear anything. I go back, that and the radiator cap wasn't even hot. So I go back and open the radiator cap and look down inside. I stick my finger in the water, and the water is like warm. Like lukewarm. like what you would give a baby bottle or something. And I'm like, what the hell? That's when I realized my teacher was telling the truth. You have to have a thermostat or the engine will run too cool. And because I had put that big Toyota truck radiator, because Toyota trucks back then had 22R, which was a 2.4. And my car had a little 2.2. It's not a hell of a lot of difference, but apparently it was enough that the car would not heat up. So I ended up putting a thermostat in the car to make the damn radiator work. Because without a thermostat, I couldn't drive to work. And speaking of thermostat, I think I told this story once before. My mother had a school bus. She had a 1980 school bus. And again, it ran hot for whatever reason. My father took the damn thermostat out and wouldn't put it back in. And, my mother didn't have heat in the morning. And he wouldn't let me put a thermostat back in the bus. So I got smart. I remember, how back then you'll see tractor trailers riding around with these blankets in front of the radiator. It'll be covering up half the radiator. And I asked somebody one time, why did they do that? And they said, because the engine run too cool, so they block off some of the radiator. So I came up with the idea to I took a piece of cardboard and slid down in front of her radiator, not the whole radiator. And I actually did it in a couple different phases. The first time, I think I covered like 1/3 of the radiator. She said it didn't help. So now I covered like half the radiator and it helped. It gave her heat. But in the evening time, she had to, in the morning time, she would drive. But when she go pick the kids up, she had to pop the hood and pull that cardboard out or the engine would run hot. But anyway, I just thought it was an interesting story and I thought I'd tell you. Having a question, comments, leave them. Dre, y'all have a good day.